Maybe different bass. Maybe I don't want sustain, so come over here. Gotta read my chord progression up here. See, it's F minor, so go F, F. Now you get to sing, write a song around it. Hello, my name's John Skippy Cool. Welcome to a new video. So I have something fun to show you. MIDIBox is our MIDI file player, and it's very flexible and it can do all sorts of really interesting things. But one of the basic things that it can do is play MIDI files and let you change them with a knob. So I can go back to knob 1 here to the... Inside of this layered Unify, there's a MIDIBox. And all of these drum grooves are here, just waiting to be called up. All right, so before we start the deep dive, let me just point out, as I always do, this video is sponsored by my website, plugandgroove.com. We've got new libraries. We've got a summer sale going on until September 1st. Select libraries are on sale. Mega Magic Guitars for Unify is on sale. Oh my gosh. Unichill, Mega Magic Guitar Bundle for Omnisphere, Mega Wave Combo for Serum. This is 2 different libraries that have wavetables that cover everything from bass music type of stuff, huge basses, to dance and trance and all that kind of stuff. Great libraries. So these are all on sale until September 1st. So take advantage if you want, and I thank you. Now, we are working on a new library that's coming out later this week called Chili Pop. This is a library that has a whole bunch of really cool phrases. There's 54 different phrases. They're really, really nice. And I have set up these BPM splits where you can play and start the groove. And it tells you a chord progression up here in the window. And if you go to the knob, all sorts of different kind of really, really cool phrases. And I can change the drum groove. There's 55 grooves on this knob. I mean, it's really, really fun. So I mean, the songs that can come from these. Wish I could rap, but I'd embarrass myself, so I won't. All sorts of fun plays to use these sounds, right? So I've got this knob for changing between the different phrases. This is in a special area of Unify called the variation window. And we can have it so that these drum grooves that I've got going on, I want the drum kit, when I call up the drum grooves, to show me that window and show me the name of the groove and make it so it's like really, really flexible. Now, the reason I'm showing you this and the reason you can use this is MIDIBox is changing MIDI files. But what is in that MIDI file is up to you. It could be a bass and a keyboard part. It could be multiple drum parts. I'll give you some examples. I'll show you some examples as we go through this. But first, let's go through the process of building one so you can see what's involved. This is the drum kit called Chili Pop. It's got drum samples across the entire keyboard, all 61 keys. Nothing is blank. I hate that. Kicks. I didn't do the same mapping as I typically do with all the other kits because I wanted just a ton of kicks and snares and hats. So this is all kicks. Snares. So from 808s to chilly kind of chill stuff. Hi-hats. tambourine and shaker, and then crash cymbals. So if I turn on MIDIBox, I already have loaded up this list with all the patterns. But I want to show you how I built it, and then we're going to expand on it. Because I want the actual pattern name, each one of these. If you look at MIDIBox, let's shrink this. As I move this, the pattern changes. I mean, I went to all this work naming all these patterns. I want the names to show up after. So at the very beginning are just hi-hats. And then you have all these patterns. And what's fun with this is you can just use this to call up the pattern that's going to work. Or you can turn your sequencer, turn on automation, and move this knob while it's playing. And that would be your pattern now for your song. Mixing and matching 55 different drum patterns into the pattern for your song. So you can use this in some really, really cool ways. How do we make these? How do we get these to happen so that we can do what I'm doing, right? Let's dive into this. So here we are inside of Logic. These are each the patterns that I created. Like if I was to select just one of these, turn on solo here. I can now select a pattern and play it. Right? Okay. So I have all these patterns that I've created. I spent the time listening to different songs and making patterns that I thought would be useful for this library, for these grooves. Some of them I made them while I was actually playing the actual phrases so that they match and stuff like that, right? So I have taken, and the first step to get it to work inside of Unify is to select all of these. If you have this option in your sequencer, you want to make sure that you can set it to export as a MIDI file type 1, not type 0. Type 1 will respect each of these as an individual track so that they can be played independently. That's the key to the whole thing. Otherwise, if you merge this all into one, it'd be, you know, you don't want that. You want it so that you can choose just one at a time and play it, right? The key to this, see how each one has a number at the beginning of the name. That's critical because that way they will stay sequentially in the same order as your text list you're going to make after this, so that you can spin the knob and show the name in that variation window I told you about. By using numbers for the MIDI files and then keeping that list when you go to the text editor, it's going to look correct. It's going to work right. Select each one, copy the name, export it. So what we've done is inside, once we've exported this out as a MIDI file, we selected all this, exported as a MIDI file. I named it stack, something like that. So let's do this. Let's go to Unify. I'll show you the fast way to get to this data folder. If you're new to working with something like this, hit the little settings button. And then right here where it says data folder, just hit open. And that will open up your existing data folder that Unify is looking at. And here's your folder that's called libraries. And so inside of here is Chili Pop phrases, and the MIDI files folder is where the MIDI files go. And there's a Chili Pop drum grooves. And as you can see, I have spit out both the stack file right here and all 55 files for the MIDI files. I have separated them and spit them out already in just separate MIDI files each. So then you have this folder, copy, C, or right click and say copy. By copying the items, we can now go to a text editor. We're gonna just use text edit and say new document. If you set the format to plain text, not rich text, but plain text, you can now paste in names and not objects. Like if I have this set to rich text, when I paste, it actually pastes the MIDI files in here. Look at this, all these MIDI files. So I'm going to say cancel because that's not what I want. Change the text to just plain text. And now you can paste in the names from the MIDI files that you copied, and it just shows you the list with all the names. And now I want to take this part, because it's the same for every one. I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go down here to find replace. Let's go to find and paste that, and then leave it blank and say all. And just like that, it deletes that unnecessary information, and we can say done. This is the text list that's going to show up in the variation window. So I want it to look the way I want it to look. And if I wanted, I could add additional text at this point. If I was doing a song and I wanted to have a name like this is so-and-so song verse, right here in the text editor right now, I would go through and change each one of these entries, because each one of these entries is now going to scroll when you assign this to the knob. So now I go save. We're going to call this the Chili Pop 55 Grooves name list. Names. Just call it names. And this is going to go into my Unify libraries, Chili Pop, and then the media folder, right? Media folder is a special folder for containing text files like this, key zone files, all sorts of things like that. Images, if you're going to put images into your artwork when you comp them, everything like that goes into the media folder. So now, since I have created that media folder and I've put that file in here, I could go back to Unify and now go over here to the save page, and right here where it says variations, click, and it's looking inside of that media folder, inside of the Chili Pop phrases, and giving me the list of what it sees. And here we go, Chili Pop 55 groove names. So that's done. Now you can hit cancel. You don't have to save it yet. And let's go over here to the 55 patterns, and I'm going to go link parameters. And as you can see, I've got the track set up. All I have to do is go plus and add variation. And boom, just like that, I am now scrolling through all of those text files, and the name is showing up here. Rec Room. Montuno. They're all there. It's that easy. As long as you follow the steps of, so now I have to do, since I have it set up, go save, and since it knows where it was at, I can just hit update, and it'll update the patch. I want to bypass this to start with because I want this to be called up just as a drum kit. But if you turn this on, now it's playing a groove. It's playing Snuck a Smile. Right? So in order to do this, let's hit init. I'm going to go down here to contact. We're going to go old school contact 5. Let's call up some sample libraries, something that has nothing to do with Unify, other than Unify calling up these plugins to work with, right? The idea being I'm working on a cinematic score and I want some cinema drums. And I want to be able to change from one pattern to another pattern to another pattern that I've made myself. There's a lot of the contact plugins have, patterns in them, but you can't change it. It's not your own patterns that you're changing, right? So let's go over here to libraries. Let's use damage, and let's say epic organic drums, epic drum and metal. Okay, we want more than this, right? So we can go duplicate this layer, and let's see. So this is the top note of that first layer. So let's have the other ones start there and see if we can find another kit. Let's call up Armageddon. So I've got 2 layers. I've got the right? Okay, so I'm going to go over to Logic, and I'm going to take my 55 grooves that I created, and I'm going to move those away so that they're somewhere else. not being used in this area. Let's do a little window sharing. So let's make this small, make logic small, and we can all work together, right? So I'm going to make a couple different patterns, and let's say for this we want to be faster because this is cinematic stuff. So let's say 125. What the heck? So we're on our cinematic kit, right? Right? So just insanity, quantize it to 16th notes. We don't care. Right? And then we need like the soft one for like when the aliens go, oh, I love you. They're going to be nice to each other after all. You know, they're not going to try to fight and kill each other. So let's go over here and let's move this down and go back to this kit. We're just going to play with the sticks on this one. And then they just get really pissed off and they decide they're going to fight after all. So they're going to just be like... Okay, so this is the war path. So okay, so we got three patterns, right? We've got the war starts. We've got let's move these around so we can listen to these really quickly. Mute. Adventure awaits. And then we have the last one, which is, oh, let's mute this really quick. So, thinking it over. Okay, so we have these three patterns. Again, oh wait, undo that. Thank you. So let's come over here and name this 01. Let's call this one Adventure Before War. So we'll go like this. We want 02, and then we want 03 for when they get pissed off and all else has failed, so it's wartime. So let's select these three patterns and use our command to export them as a MIDI file. This is Alien Love and War 3 grooves. So save, and here's the MIDI file. I also want to save them separately. So I'm going to select each one, copy the name, and export it also to the desktop for each one of these. Copy, export with the same names, because this will help me for my text file. And since it's only three, I could do this simply by just manual labor, but I'm not. So command copy. Let's go over to our text editor, new file. Now inside of your text editor, make sure you go to format and make sure it's set not to rich text, but make plain text. If you have it set to the normal rich text when you paste, it actually pastes them as 3 MIDI files, which you don't want to do. So hit cancel. You want to set this to plain text, and now it's just text, but it's out of order. See how it says 3, 2, 1? So let's go copy 2, put this after 1, and then copy 3 and put that right here. So now we can get rid of these, get rid of these, clean up the names. We don't want .mid. And if you had other names for these, you wanted to name them and so forth, you could do that. Now we're at the point where we need to save this into a library so it's organized. And this is one of the things that messes people up a little bit. So let's do the way I would suggest doing this. Before I saved any MIDI files or MIDI or anything, I would save the patch first, because that way Unify is going to make the necessary directory that I need. So let's go over here to save. This is going to be a BPM patch when we're done. So go BPM drum, Alien Love War Scene 1.0. 0.235, whatever you're going to call it, right? Now, library name, we're going to say new library. And let's call this, it's film score Alien Love and War. And you could name it whatever you need to. I'm just going to call it that for here. So say confirm. There. It has made the necessary patches folder. So now I can go save as, save, and there it is. Now I have a film score tab, and I have this patch that I can click, and it will go through the process of finding and loading up the samples, and then they play. If I mute these guys, it will play, right? But now's the fun. We want to get logic out of the equation. Bye-bye, logic. And just do this inside of Unify. So we need to go over here. The easiest way to find this folder is to right-click and say Reveal in Finder. And then right-click on the patch's name. However you need to get to where you see inside of the film score folder. You'll know you're there when you see patches. So we need to go Command New, and we need to make a MIDI Files folder. New, we need a Media folder. Media is where text files go for like the key zones and so forth. MIDI files is where these grooves go. So let's put this all right here into MIDI files. Media folder is where we're going to save this thing that I made inside of my text editor. So I go save. It's going to say, okay, where do you want to save it? So let's go film score, media, and let's just call this damage 3x groove for scene 1. Okay, save. Now I have everything I need done. So all I have to do is go to the save page, and where it says variation, click that. It looks to the media folder because I made a media folder, and there it is. And so we can just hit update. So it's updated, and boom, it now pops up and it says the name of the groove, even though there is no groove assigned yet. So let's go through the process. Because I use multiple layers, it's a little more complex. I'm going to go over here to MIDI effects and say new MIDIBox and jitterbox. Jitterbox is set, let's say no jitterbox timing, so it's perfect timing to start with. Then we go MIDI files, and we'll go over here to this library, and we click this, and now it shows me the libraries, and I want to use the Alien Love and War, the big one right here. This is when I started earlier. I should have put stack in the name, but I didn't. But this is the stack file, because if I click and load, I can see 1, 2, 3. So there's 2 connections I need to make. One from MIDIBox up here, right here, click in and connect both of these layers. That's one cool thing with Unify is MIDI files can play from MIDIBox up here to both layers, or as many layers as I want, which is really, really cool. If I go to MIDIBox and change it, now it's playing both layers at once. Super, super cool. Okay. So now next, let's go over here. I always suggest when you're playing in Unify, go to replace layer preset for the master effects, go to master presets and optimizer light. Listen how it sounds. It's very subtle, but it makes it better. It's got a little more presence. And if I needed to make it even more better, now I have EQ to play with. Just a little bit of EQ there. You have a compressor. Press it harder if you need to. I am just barely compressing, but the most important thing is loud max is there, so it doesn't go over 0 dB. It doesn't distort. That's the most important thing. So adding that to, if you're starting from scratch like this, is a golden rule to follow for everything. And then knob number 8, let's hit the little macro knob page, double click here, say pattern number, and then click the little dot right here and say linked parameters. Make sure the box is set to full range and choose variation, and then do one more, because variation is now making it so that this slider changes, as you can see, to show the variation window. So it's doing half of it, but it's not doing it to MIDIBox yet. So hit plus, go MIDI, MIDI effect, MIDIBox, track number. Boom. Done. So now I have thinking it over. Wait. And the power of this is that by making only 3 MIDI files, I could do a complete scene programming wise. I don't have to go programming like crazy through the whole scene. I can just, this for one section. That would take a lot of work to do that, and I just did it just by moving a knob. So the power of this, it's great for chili pop, because now I have 55 drum patterns you can choose from while you're jamming, but it's also really cool for something like this, for cinematic, or any other, for music, where you want to go from here's a verse to chorus, right? Okay, so I hope that shows you just some of the power available to inside a Unify. It's really, 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 really cool. So you can make scenes from just a handful of MIDI files. You can choose, if we go here to Chili Pop, what's really fun, Chili Pop phrases, and go to the drum kit. I think I fixed it, right? Let's make sure. Yeah, so if we turn on, I can now cycle between 55 different patterns. And see the name. Driving range. Good idea. Maybe I'll go hit some golf balls. No, I have to edit this video still. So, day's not done. Okay, hope this helps. See you later.